Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. Today we continue our study of Sefer Mishlei, the book of Proverbs. We are in the middle of chapter 6. We are still in the first section. If you don't include the first 8 verses, which are really an introduction, the rest of the first 10 chapters is the first section where we have the teacher, the sage, teaching his students or his children, his followers, to go along the right path. This is the first 10 chapters of Sefer Mishlei, and he had described to him the benefits of following this path, the dangers and the pitfalls of not following the right path. And in this chapter 6, he's describing what path to follow, giving specific advice, what to do, what not to do, places you should go, places you shouldn't go. And he started by telling us in the beginning of chapter 6 about being careful what kind of commitments you take upon yourself, because you're responsible for your commitments. We talked about the importance of not being lazy, of working hard and learning from the nature around you. Looking at gave the example of the ant and how he works hard to prepare for the future. So think about the consequences of what you're doing. He talked about the dangers of lying, dangers of cheating, dangers of not looking at things truthfully, not communicating truthfully with others, and how that always leads down a terrible path to destruction. And he talked about the 7 things that God hates, the 7 abominations, the issue of being haughty, lying, fomenting disagreement among others for personal gain, etc. So now we're about to begin chapter 20, and he's going to continue to tell us the path in life we should choose and warn us away from the paths we should not choose. Nitzor b'ni, be careful, my son, mitzvahs avicha, to listen to the commandments of your father, or the commandment of your father. V'al titosh Torah simecha. This is the second time and not the last time we're going to hear a wording of similar advice. Do not forsake the Torah, the teaching of your mother. Again, this is telling us don't, because he's talking to the youth. And he knows, as we know, throughout history, and of course still to this day, the youth always think they know better. And to some degree, we've seen in Proverbs and other places, there's a value to that. There's a value to, constantly trying to improve, to learn, to move forward. But don't do that by completely ignoring the wisdom, the teachings that your forefathers, that your parents, that the preceding generations teach you. We all know too well when you ignore the wisdom that's been learned, unfortunately, you're forced to learn it all over again yourself. So it's best to, nitzar, watch it, be careful with it. Don't forsake it. Don't just leave it in the dust. It doesn't mean you have to be exactly like your parents, but it does mean, remember, they have something to teach you. There is a lot of value in that, and it'll give you a significant head start in your life. Kashrei ma libcha tamid, tie them upon your heart all the time. Ondeim al gargerosecha, tie them around your neck. B'hisalechecha, when you go along the path that life takes you, tanche osach, it will lead you on that right path. You won't have to relearn the decisions when you're needing to decide which way to go. We look at a map. Somebody else who's mapped out the area tells us, if you go to the right, this is what you'll find. If you go to the left, this is what you find. You don't have to experiment and figure it all out yourself. As you go, the wisdom of the past will teach you. B'shach b'cha, when you lay down, tishmor alecha, it will guard you. Knowing how to set up a home, how to set up a secure place to live. These things, these lessons will guard you. They will keep you safe. V'hakitzosa, and when you are awake, hi tisichecha, this will be that which you speak with. You will always engage with it. You will always engage with the past. Don't ignore it. Engage with it gives you the image of have a discussion with it. You can discuss what lessons can I learn from the past? How is this situation different? What do I maybe not know about the future that I have to learn? So it's a discussion. It's a conversation. It's not an absolute command. This is exactly what you have to do because that's the way they used to do it. But it's advice. It's something you have to take seriously, something that you have to engage with. Tisichecha, have a conversation with it. Why? Kiner mitzvah, the commandment is like a light. The Torah and the teaching or is light. So ner is a light, like a lamp or a flashlight. Torah or is light itself, right? So the ner, the mitzvah, the commandment, in other words, that specific piece of advice that you heard from your father, right? The mitzvah that he told you, mitzvah savicha, that is a ner. That is like a lamp. It is like it gives you advice in specific situations. However, the teachings of your mother, which we said before, which are more teachings of general guidance, be nice, be kind, be empathetic, right? That is light itself. The derech chaim, and the way to life, the way to find actual life and not death, is tochachos musar, is the rebuke that gives us discipline. The way to life is to learn the lessons of the mistakes in the past, right? You suffered before because of this, and this, right? So you learn how to avoid it, how to correct your past so you don't suffer those sufferings, that musar, that discipline that you had to suffer before. Lishmarcha me'eshes ra, the ultimate example he's about to give in verse here 24, and he's going to talk a little bit about it, is the example of following after adultery, following after the charms of someone else's wife, someone cheating on your own spouse. This is the example he gives. This will keep you careful. In other words, when you're doing it, you're not thinking about the dangers that you're getting into. And this is, of course, true about any type of vice that's leading you away from the path, causing you to lie, causing you to cheat on others, causing you to be dishonest for something that seems wonderful, that seems good, that seems pleasurable, that seems okay, seems like you'll get away with it, but it causes you to lie, causes you to do all of the things which we listed before you should stay away from. This is his example, and it's a classic example from which we can learn a lesson to all, of course, to this specific issue, right? To stay away from adultery, from this kind of dishonesty. But also, it warns us against these kinds of things for the rest of our lives. Lishmarcha, it guards you me'eshes ra, from a evil woman, a bad woman, michel kas lashon nachriya, from the smooth tongue of the strange woman. The strange woman meaning she's strange to you. She's not yours. She's not the one that this is a metaphor for so many things, and of course the different commentaries all take this in all different directions, and they're all important, they're all valuable. You should take this in the direction that's meaningful to you, that speaks to your life. El tachmod yafya bilvavecha, don't desire her beauty in your heart, because try to avoid having that desire in the first place. And do not get taken by her winking her eyes, the winking of the eyes, the look of the eyes, the suggestion of the eyes that suggests, come to me, the seductivity, the seduction of desire that leads you off in the wrong direction. Ad isha zona ad kikar lachem. So many times people have went deep into poverty. Their entire lives were ruined only simply just because they wanted to go after a woman who's a prostitute, ve'eshes ish, and the married woman, nefesh yikarot tatsud, can ensnare even a precious soul, a person who otherwise could have had a good life, could have had a life of productivity, a life of accomplishment. Everything just went down because of chasing after this desire and just ruining lives like that. Hayachate ish eish b'cheko. Ken, this is verse 27. This is, of course, referring to the example that we just said before, but it's true about any time. Anytime we play with fire, so to speak, right? Can a person heat up flames in his lap or on his chest? You don't take a bonfire and put it on your lap and heat it up and with the bellows and rake it around to make it thing, because all right, without, and his clothing shouldn't get burned, and even worse, his body, right? Obviously, no, we don't do that. And when we go after sin like this, it gets right deep into our soul, as if we were stoking those flames within the deepest and most intimate part of our lives. If a person is going to walk upon goals, and his legs and his feet won't get burnt. In other words, we tend to think, oh, it won't happen to me if I chase down this path. If I go down this path, I won't get caught. Nothing will happen to me. It'll be fine. I'll go do this sin, and then I'll go back home, and everything will be well. But that's not how it works. It doesn't work that way. It ends up in ruin, no matter how you do it. You walk on coals, you will get burnt. Kain ha'bo'al similar is someone who sleeps with, who has intercourse with his friend's wife. Lo yinokeh kol hanogea ba. No one who touches her will end up with nothing. There will be consequences. Lo yavuzu laganov ki yignov. Right? People, people have some understanding. Stealing, theft, obviously is bad. But when a person is desperate and he steals a loaf of bread, there are consequences. He'll pay 7 times over. He'll give up everything he owns. But eventually, people will have some sort of compassion, some sort of understanding. People get it. People understand that sometimes people make mistakes when they're desperate. But going after pleasure like this was never appropriate, was never right, right? No one will understand that, because no eif isha chasar leiv, but a person who commits adultery with another woman is lacking leiv. He's lacking any kind of common sense, right? Because, even though he himself thinks he has common sense, people, of course, understand why he did it, but nobody has any compassion on that person for doing it. He didn't have to do it. He didn't need to do it. He wanted to do it, and he did it. And he ruined his life and other people's lives. And chasar leiv, it's totally different from a person who steals when he's desperate, which is also wrong, of course. And he also has to pay, like he said, sevenfold, because even after you pay back the actual debt, there's so much more. There's the embarrassment, the shame, it's a lot more than just paying back the money. But eventually you pay it back and people understand, they get it, and it's possible to rebuild your life. But like this, mashchis nafsho hu ya'asena. The only kind of person who would do this is a person who's ready to destroy his soul. Nega v'kolonium, so all he will find is disease. Possibly this could be literally disease, because especially in those days when they didn't really understand how STDs work, a person who is promiscuous is certainly risking significant disease and shame and embarrassment and disgrace. That's all he's going to find. His shame will never be erased. Even after his death, it'll continue. Because the fury of the people who he hurt, the man whose wife he cheated with, right, is going to be jealous. When he has a chance to take revenge, he's not going to have any mercy. It's going to go on forever. The wound of this kind of unfaithfulness lasts forever. And this is true about all kinds of unfaithfulness. Lo yisaf pnei chol kofer. He won't be satisfied. He won't be what's it called? Satiated is not the right word. You will not be able to calm him down by giving him as much money in the world, by giving him tons of ransom and saying, "Here, I'll pay you off just to leave me alone." He's going to harbor this hatred and forever. V'lo yoveh kisar b'shochad. No matter how much you bribe him, right? He is never going to give in. He's never going to say it's okay. He's always going to feel the hurt, and he's always going to be waiting for the moment to take revenge for that hurt. When you hurt other people in this kind of ways, only for your own gain, for only selfish gain, without any reason that anyone with compassion could at least look at and understand. A person who's desperate, okay, sometimes we can understand he does things wrong. We can forgive him if he tries to make recompense, if he tries to pay back, tries to show remorse. But when someone, the key example here is cheats with someone else's wife, no matter how much he pays off the husband, no matter how much he begs and the bottom line is the hurt will remain forever. And this is true about anyone who who seeks his own pleasure and commits sins just for his own gratification, without any kind of justification, and hurts other people in the process, that hurt will last forever. So this concludes chapter 6 of Proverbs. Thank you so much for studying together with me. Looking forward to studying chapter 7 and, of course, the rest of this wonderful and meaningful book together. I wish everyone that participated a wonderful, wonderful day. And again, thank you so much for participating, and feel free to comment. Occasionally, I put out an email address you can use if you want to send comments privately. It's WeinrebSaul, that's WeinrebSaul @gmail.com. You can also, of course, comment publicly in the various places where this podcast and video on YouTube is released, etc. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.